Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 19th meeting of the Louis-Riel School Board of Trustees. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the Louis-Riel Division brings together a community of schools on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, Inninewak, and Dakota. Our division is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis, and we recognize that Manitoba is also the traditional land of the Anishinaabe and Dene. We respect the treaties made on this land and acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and the present, and we dedicate ourselves to authentic alliances within communities, both in a spirit of reconciliation and cooperation. I'd like to remind everyone who is participating in this meeting that do record it to ensure our minutes are accurate, but otherwise any recording or photography is prohibited unless you've received permission in advance. We do have a 15-minute public forum question period at the end of the meeting for questions specific to the agenda. If questions of a general nature, you can certainly reach out to us by emailing info@lrsd.net. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome guests who are joining us in person and also remotely. We have regrets this evening from Trustee Simon Yola, and I would also like to make specific acknowledgement and recognition of the fact that this is Assistant Superintendent Marlene Murray's last meeting as a member of the senior team and as part of Louis-Riel School Division. I hope this meeting is everything that you wanted to be, Marlene. It's been a pleasure having you at the table, and look forward to speaking more to that after we adjourn. Our vision is for all members of our community to excel as caring, confident, capable, and resilient lifelong learners in a democratic and sustainable world. And our mission is to provide a safe, inclusive, and engaging environment where personal and collective learning are valued and each one of us reaches our full potential. The first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda for this evening. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Trustee Kolachek, second by Trustee Nordhoff. All in favor? Trustee Turner, I think you're going to need to vote right now audibly. Does that seem to sound? Yeah. Okay. And the motion.
I vote approval.
Thank you. And
I'm not getting it.
Thank you. All right, and also Trustee Sigurdsson doesn't have a screen. Oh.
There we go.
There we go. All right, just fill in the boxes, folks. Thank you. Next item is approval of the minutes from the December 5th regular meeting, was circulated in advance. There's been no errors or omissions that need to be made, so those will be archived accordingly. And that takes up the news from LRSD, starting with the news from the Board of Trustees. This evening from Trustee Conquest. Go right ahead, Ryan.
Hello, can everyone hear me and see me? Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, now we can see and hear you.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for your understanding and patience as I deliver news to the board remotely. So I will start talking about Glen Lawn women's hockey. So the Glen Lawn Collegiate women's hockey players Delaney and Veda Rijot were featured in the September 12th sports section of the Winnipeg Free Press. The Louis-Riel School Division's own answer to the Sundin Twins of the NHL are dynamic players making up two of the Glen Lawn girls hockey blue line, who host at the St. Vital Centennial Arena. These two are respectively league leaders in goals and assists. The Lions have had an incredible season so far, currently at 30 points after 12 games played, with 10 wins, 2 losses, third place in points, but with 2 less games played this season so far than the St. Mary's Flames and the equally impressive CJS Olympians, also of the LRSD, in the 8-team Manitoba Women's High School Hockey League. On behalf of the board, I'd like to congratulate the Rijot twins on the exciting recognition they've received and all of the outstanding female athletes on LRSD's 2 league-leading MWHSHL teams. I'm going to deliver the next part of the news to the board in French with respect to École Varennes Bric-a-Brac Night. L'École Varennes a tenu son marché annuel Bric-a-Brac le vendredi 15 décembre L'événement annuel est un moment fort de l'expérience de la communauté scolaire de Varennes, où les élèves de 5 et 8 années vendent des objets d'artisanat, de traite des 2 jouets d'usage aux élèves plus jeunes, avec jusqu'à $10 de profit conservés dans les poches de ces jeunes entrepreneurs, les restes reversés et des organismes des bienfaisances locaux. L'environnement au règlement, considéré comme l'une des expériences scolaires préférées et les plus mémorables par les anciens élèves de Varennes, et en tant que parent de Varennes, je dois maintenant reprovisionner ma tirelire pour payer l'autobus. And my final update is regarding Darwin Winter Wonderland. So on Tuesday, December 7th, Darwin School held its winter concert, preceded by a fantastic Winter Wonderland event. I was delighted to be able to attend with my 2 youngest kids. As explained by Darwin Principal Nick Kelly and PAC Chair Melissa Martin, the event put a new take on the pre-concert gathering experience, giving both families and youth an opportunity to explore the school, socialize, snack, buy baking and hot chocolate in a dispersed, festive, and engaging environment. In particular, I'd like to recognize the fun and unique projector Christmas story reading by Darwin teacher librarian Mr. Callis. Some younger kids, including my 4-year-old, got to enjoy. And that's my news to the board.
Great. Thank you very much, Trustee Blomquist. News from senior leadership this evening from Assistant Superintendent Cormack.
There were so many amazing things happening in these last few that it was hard to narrow down some things to talk about. So I've tried to highlight a few from different schools. So from Dakota, I want to highlight their production of Oz. 112 Dakota students worked together, 88 on stage and 24 backstage to create a stellar show that was enjoyed by 6 sold audiences. The philosophy of the Dakota Musical Theatre program is we all belong and must respect and care for one another like a family. Students are empowered to not only develop their performance or technical theater skills, but also their leadership abilities and their generosity towards students from across our school community. A grade 12 student who played the role of the Tin Man had this to say about his years in musical theater. It cannot be overstated how much the musical has meant to me and positively impacted my life. This program has allowed me to grow confidence in my ability, shown me that I can accomplish what I set my mind to, and helped me to share my talent and love for the arts with so many others. It has allowed me to grow relationships and friendships that I will hold dear to me and my heart for a lifetime. If musical theater is not a family, I don't know. From HS Paul School. This school as a whole celebrated a solstice assembly, an opportunity to learn about what the solstice is, both to Indigenous peoples and in terms of science of the seasons. It was an opportunity to rest, connect, reflect, give thanks for the past year, and think about what they want to do with the light that we will be getting more day by day in the coming season. Hastings School is currently celebrating the unique qualities of their student body by writing positive words of affirmation written on small notes that they have attached to candy canes for each student. They are delivering them this week to promote kindness in their school. At Lavallee, students embarked on a meaningful journey learning on the land, venturing along Cedar Bog Trail, Hilda as their guide. Engaging in this land-based learning, they immerse themselves in harvesting and discovering the sacred medicine cedar. This enriching experience will culminate in a winter solstice celebration at the school where the harvested cedar will play a central role in their assembly, symbolizing the connection between nature, knowledge, and community. Nordale School participated in the Main Street project. Students in grade 3-4, along with teacher Julie Ward, led the campaign with the rest of the school, decorating bags and collecting needed items from their community day. The class visited all the grade 3-4 class visited all the other classrooms to speak about the campaign and to encourage people to give. It was a great way to continue their work on student agency as they used their voices and chose how to promote the project. And finally, Victor Major Community Helpers have a Celebrate Everything board. So this student group ensures that students feel represented and see themselves in the halls of Victor Major. Just a few highlights from around the division.
Thank you very much. Between the two of you, you covered lots of schools in all areas of the school division, so that's terrific. Thank you. I will let you continue on introducing our presentation.
I am happy to welcome Principal Darren Baker from the Louisville Arts and Tech Center. Darren was appointed principal at the Arts and Tech Center in August here. And he is going to share a little bit of information about what's happening over at the Louisville Arts and Tech Center.
Thanks, everybody. Information for you, just so save some time. I know that everybody's time is valuable, so I'll hand out these as well while we're talking. And I appreciate that many of you have this information and know this information, but there's a package of all of our brochures for all of you to look over while I'm speaking. So just quickly, just wanting to be here to present a little bit about what ATC is, what we offer, who attends ATC, and just some data about why we are successful in our programming. And then I'm hoping to, so a video, get some students to tell you about their at ATC as well. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those at the end. So. Just as Darcy said, I'm the principal there, and I'm really excited to be able to share with you today, just because every day is very exciting to me. I love going to work at Louisville Arts and Tech Center. It's an awesome place. I know some of you go there for visits from time to time and see the excitement there, but as students that come to ATC love it and are excited to be there, and it's really infectious. So I encourage all of you to come for a visit and come check out what we offer there. So what is ATC? That's a tough question to answer in some cases because we're different for different people and for different needs. So we are a high school in many senses. We're an extension of home high school so that they can come to ATC from their home high school, whether that's in Louisville School Division or across the province. We have partnerships with high schools across the province where students can come and earn credits while learning something new and trying something new and getting some certification. We are a vocational high school, and that is unique to Louisville Arts and Tech Center across the province. We are the only true vocational high school in the province, where there's schools like Kildonan East or Murdoch McKay. Those schools also have academic programming. We are the true vocational high school. We are also a post-secondary institution because we also offer all of our 13 programs to students that have already graduated high school and come and get their certification in vocational training at Louisville. So we do offer 13 programs, and those are what I've handed to you today. So you can look at those while I'm talking. You can look over at your leisure, wherever you'd like. I'll just go through quickly kind of what those 13 programs are. I'll just get you to scroll quickly here, Mr. Rudnicki. Go ahead. So applied business management, and I'm just really go quick. So automotive technology, where students are fixing and repairing cars, baking and pastry. I encourage you to visit that if you're ever in ATC. Broadcast media, many of you will be aware of the services they provide as they do all the sports streaming. We're very proud to say that we just hit 1 million views on our Louisville School Division channel, so it's exciting. Building trades is unique to our school, where the students come in just 1 day a week to our building. The other 4 days, they're out actually in the working field, so they're a co-op type situation there. Culinary arts, our students learning cooking and food preparation. Again, we offer great lunches, so come on down. Early childhood education, working in a daycare center. Again, these students go out 3 days a week to a center and get work experience. Electrical trades, electricians. Aesthetics, we do both skin care and nail care. Some of you are well aware with this program here, coming in for manicures, pedicures, facials, things that we call. Hairstyling as well. We have a full working salon where our students are learning to do hairstylings. Information systems. So this is working on computers. This is kind of more the inner networking of a computer. cybersecurity, working, taking hardware apart, those types of things. Whereas our next one, new media design, that's more of the design process, looking at websites, graphic design, that type of stuff. Plumbing trades, self-explanatory, our newest program where students learn from plumbers. As I mentioned, we don't offer academic programming at our school. We do offer some academic courses online just for those students that need credit, and that is also offered to our partnership high schools as well. We also have career development at our school. We have a designated career development teacher who works cooperatively and co-teaches with our teachers to do resume writing. They do job searches, internship supports, those types of things. Just at the bottom there, I highlighted our CAPS event. Some of you attended as well, which was a large event in November where we had over probably 1,000 people come through Louis-Riel Arts and Tech Center. We had a number of people from industry and post-secondary institutions, just helping students kind of find a path for after high school. The Edge is something else that we've developed at Louis-Riel Arts and Tech Center. This was something created with industry leaders. We do this to teach students kind of those soft skills about responsibility, punctuality, and those types of things that we know are important in the workforce. Not only do we teach that specifically, but we also assess on that and get data on how the students are doing with that. So that's an important part of Louis-Riel Arts and Tech Center as well. So who is at Louis-Riel Arts and Tech Center? So a little bit of a graph of who's there. We usually aim to have around 300 to 310 students at any time in our building. Currently, about 34% of those are from our high schools in Louis-Riel School Division. Out of division high school students, we have about 18% in our building currently. And then post-secondary students make up about 47% of our students in our day programming. And to break that down a little bit more, I've done it as 51% are non-international programming and 49% are international for post-secondary. Thanks, Jamie. So why come to ATC? We tell students just try something new. It's while they're there they're going to develop some skills for life. And if they figure that that's something that they want to do, they can get that vocational training and certification while doing it. So all of those things are great things that can happen. I wanted to highlight some data here. Probably seen, many of you, this data about engagement through the province. This is data that we have seen through the Our School survey data. So if we look at grade 4, 5, 6, we see a lot of engagement in our schools, and it kind of drops in high school. And I've highlighted the grade 11s and 12s because those are the students that we have in our building at ATC. And if we look at our engagement data on the next slide here, our students say that 75% of the students are engaged as opposed to that 43% on the previous slide. So we're really proud to say that, you know, our authentic learning and our engaged teachers are really, you know, hitting those students and making sure that they are engaged and excited to be where they're at. Following that, some further data, we will share our belonging data. This is really important, and we always want to share this because one of the things that we feel keeps students away from ATC is they say that they don't want to leave their friends from their high school. We show them this to say, you know what, when you come to ATC, there is still a strong sense of belonging and you don't need to leave your friends behind. You just need to come and make new friends. You can see that we have about 80% of our students are saying that they do have a strong sense of belonging while they're there. And we attribute that to that the students are together all day long in that same program, developing those strong relationships with both staff and students. And they are with like-minded individuals. So that's great data to share there. So we're proud to say that ATC is open to all learners. We want to open our doors to everybody. We have students that are on modified programs, student-specific plans. We do have supports there with student services, all of those people. So we're just happy to have everyone there. But as I said, I'm just one guy who's excited to talk about ATC all the time. I'm happy to have you all there, but there's some much more important people in our building that will tell you similar things. So if this works, which I hope that it does, I will see. But if that does not, I also had some students write you a letter. So I had 4 plumbing students volunteer to write a letter to the board members tonight. So they also wanted to share their thoughts on Louisville Arts and Tech Center. So I'll pass that along. So if the video doesn't work, you can read along. While you're doing that, I will also share this little flyer that we're passing out, and you might have seen this, and I know I don't need to share this with some of you because you already are aware of this, but we do provide services at ATC. So if you need car repairs, if you need a haircut, if you want to get some computer services or some food services, come on down to ATC. We're happy to help you out, and that's why I'm promoting that is because that does give the students the authentic learning that we talked about. So students are working on actual cars that need repairs. They are, doing hair for people that are coming in our salon. And all of those services are authentic learning for us. Appreciate if you do come in. I appreciate if you share that information with friends and family and bring everybody into our building.
We'll try.
Sure.
If it doesn't work, we'll make sure that the trustees actually get the video.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Micah. I'm here broadcast radio program at ATC. My home school is Village Gilville. I was really thinking of coming.
So I'm worried about, we're gonna get that feedback. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
And I don't think it's, I'm very sorry. This is not a malfunction for everything else.
Should get some broadcasting students.
Great idea.
Okay.
We'll get them to fix it
Yes, we will.
once and for all.
So take it from me, they had good things to say. It's me there, but that letter says a lot as well, and it was not prompted by me. I just asked, put out an all call to students to see if they would come present. There's 2 students that you would see on the video would have loved to be here, but they are working students, so they are working tonight, but really insisted that they get their word out. Micah, the first person that you saw there on the screen, I'll be upfront and honest, was a student that struggled in her home or their home high school and has just flourished where they are now. The second student is from Jean Sauvé and was excited all the time that they heard that there was something that's like ATC and wanted to try it out and has nothing but good things to say. As I said, these plumbing students, the letter speaks for themselves. They're also really excited about the hands-on learning and authentic learning that they do at this.
Trustees, any questions? Or senior leadership team, any questions? Anything?
Comment.
Superintendent, yes. I should have said.
I just want to thank Principal Baker for his taking the time out of a very busy month. Every month is busy. Present to the board the wonderful opportunities that are available to students and staff at ATC, and all of the that he's discovered of that in these first few months of his journey leading the arts.
You for the opportunity. Like I say, I like showing off and sharing about the space, so If anybody ever wants to come down and see it firsthand, I'm happy to tour you around and show you around the buildings.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes, how many students are in the broadcast media?
We have a cap of around 24. Just because of spaces, we need individual computer workspaces for the students, so it's 24 at any given times.
Yeah, because that's such an, and they're all impressive programs, of course.
For sure,
but,
yeah.
This is the one you see a lot because
Mhm.
I'm a sports fan, I follow the sports and
Sure.
I'm always blown away by the quality
Absolutely.
of what's put out by these students. Quite remarkable. Do you have any statistics on how well the students have done when they've graduated, where they've placed, and where they've ended up, or
So
too
lots.
soon to say?
No, in speaking to our instructor, Ken, he will tell you that we'll be going to set up one of those events and we'll be setting up alongside TSN right next to us this past fall. When we were setting up for the Manitoba High School final, TSN was setting up for the Western Conference final at the stadium at the same time and was able to see some of his former students there. Often some of our students, while they're setting up for the high school thing, the company that TSN contracts out will say, oh, I can see that they're doing that, and we'll actually ask them to work, the next day. In fact, so they've had lots of success. But not always do the students just go right into that field as well. We've actually, through some data, seen that lots of our students, for whatever reason, go into teaching from the broadcast media just because of the communication skills that they develop and the confidence they have in speaking out to others. So the problem solving skills, fixing wires and that kind of stuff, being quick on their feet. So that's it.
Because you have the technical aspects as well, but you also have the presenters and
Absolutely.
all the interviewers and everything is all combined.
For sure.
Wonderful.
It's a busy program. If you go into their room, you'll see a whiteboard on the wall. They've got every single date from September 5th to January 15th for their first semester, and every day has a football game or a basketball game or a winter concert that they're building. So it's exciting.
I won't ask about the chicken because we all know how good the cookies are.
Absolutely.
Amy, did you have a?
I was just gonna comment, I had the pleasure of taking a tour of ATC a couple of weeks ago, and the one thing that really struck out to me is the vibrancy of the school. When Darren and Greg Kiesman took me around, you could definitely see the pride that the teachers and the students had in the spaces in which they were learning and what they were learning. So I just wanted to make a comment that for anyone who hasn't been to ATC yet, to really visit it, because every space it's almost like a little world in its own, whether you go from culinary to plumbing to infotech, it has that vibrancy in it. So I just want to thank you for the tour and I can definitely see the belonging in it, because a lot of people have a sense of pride in that facility.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
I also wanted to say how much I love New Building and I love what's going on there. It's amazing how the community comes together. I was just there for the Winter Festival and there was lots of community, and I've been many times to the spa, and the people from the old folks home were there and just general people from the community. One of the interesting things that I found were, for example, if somebody that I was speaking to in the program for aesthetics, I said to her, so you're going to be an esthetician? And she said, no. She said, I'm learning business in this. And she said, I'm going to finish my high school and I'm thinking of going to take business. This will help me. So there's just so many layers of what goes on in there. And we're just really fortunate. And I see the joy, and I happened to be there the day Jimmy was having his tour, and you can see it in every corner.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions, comments? I will take this opportunity to thank you for joining us this evening. Appreciate everyone here. Thank you for the letters. Those are always nice to be able to read student voice and how they are reflecting on their educational journey. So I seem to have landed in a place where you fit beautifully, and I'm glad that you're excited to go to work every day. That's fantastic. And I wish you and all your staff a really great holiday and a happy new year. And I know I will be seeing you at some point.
Great. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Next item is related to the land acknowledgement that we do before every meeting, and starting in January to turns around the table with the acknowledgement and perhaps adding a reflective piece or something that resonates with us personally in reading the acknowledgement. And we thought that in order to make that more meaningful to us and to ensure that we understand the significance of doing so, we would take some time for some learning as a collective on what a land acknowledgement is about and why it's important to do so, even though we all have a certain level of understanding about that. So I'm going to turn this one to Darcy to introduce the folks that are going to teach us this evening.
Yes, I'd like to welcome Divisional Vice Principal Bobby Jill there and Indigenous Education Teacher John Petro to share some learning with us.
Tansi everyone, it's my pleasure to join you tonight to talk to you about the background and significance of our land acknowledgement. As we move our practices towards decolonizing education in LRSD, one of the simplest ways to do that is to build understanding around land acknowledgements and why they're important. They're important because it is respectful to truly acknowledge the Indigenous nations who were here, who are the traditional occupants of this land, and to do it in their language. And as well as to recognize that reconciliation is about creating equity and mending our relationships with peoples. To do so means that we must look at how the harms of the past and the ongoing impact of colonizations continue to create harm today. We see those harms in the inequities that exist in all our systems, such as education, justice, health, child and family services. Part of moving towards building authentic relationships with Indigenous peoples means we must acknowledge and speak the truth about what has happened, but also to work towards creating systemic change in all the work that we do in LRSD. Why do we say the land acknowledgement every morning? We do it because it's important to acknowledge our histories, to acknowledge that there were people here first, to acknowledge that there are nation-to-nation agreements, and that these agreements led to treaties. And it is because of these treaties that we have a country that is now called Canada. My colleague Joelle Tétrault will share with you how one school in LRSD is taking authentic action to create change based on their learning around land acknowledgement.
Good evening, I'm Joelle Tétrault, Indigenous Education Teacher. Thank you for having me tonight, giving me this platform. I really appreciate it. Since you're all going to be doing personalized land acknowledgements, I'm here to tell you a little bit what that entails. Acknowledgement is in the word. There's a double meaning to acknowledge. First of all, we acknowledge the nations that we share our land with. But there's another meaning to acknowledgement, which means acknowledging our positionality and acknowledging how, if you're a non-Indigenous person, how you have benefited from treaty. So I'm going to give you a personal example myself. I am Indigenous, but I am Métis and white-facing Métis. So I've had many benefits because of treaty. First of all, because of the Manitoba Act, my family was given scrip, which means my family got 240 acres. Two family members got 160 acres each, and were allowed to farm and have that land for free. So that's how I partly benefited from treaty, because that land was given before negotiating with First Nations. So that land was actually stolen from First Nations and given to my family. So because of that, my ancestors were farmers. They worked really hard, but they still benefited from treaty, and I need to acknowledge that. The other part of it is that I'm white-facing Métis, so because of the color of my skin, I did benefit. Nobody probably helped me to get jobs in the past, probably helped me getting this job here. So I have to acknowledge that, and I have to acknowledge that I did benefit from that in that way. So for teachers and for non-Indigenous people, it's important to look at that and see how you benefited and acknowledge those benefits. The other thing is that the important thing about a land acknowledgement is acknowledging the First Nations, acknowledging treaty, but as well acknowledging that we need to pass to action. We need to take concrete action after we've acknowledged those things. So for example, I'll give you an example for myself. I've dedicated my career to decolonizing the school system. That is one of the actions that I will dedicate the rest of my career to that. So in schools, there are two schools that I work in. I work at the Collège Jeanne Sauvé. Actually, all the teachers at the school they wrote their own land acknowledgements, and that's the one they say in the morning in their individual classes. So they talk about how they acknowledge those nations. They talk about how they benefited from treaty and from that land that was stolen to nations, or because the treaties were not respected. Collège Bellevue, they're actually in the process of doing the same, but for every individual, every student and every teacher in that school will be writing an individual land acknowledgement. And they need to recognize all the things that I've talked about. So, and that's led to, because they've have a committee of students, that led to a big question about the name of that school. Collège Bellevue is named after Arthur Bellevue. And Arthur Bellevue was a bishop who actually was one of the architects and probably helped, and not only helped, but how can I say this? Participated actively in the setting up and foundation of residential schools, especially the St. Mary's Residential School. So they have a really big reflection as a school community if they should change that name at one point. So they're reflecting on that. So that's the example of concrete actions that we can with the land acknowledgement. So and land acknowledgements are an opening to really concrete action. So that's a little bit how you should be thinking about it when you'll be. And if you have any questions, we'd be.
I think it's also important to understand that land acknowledgements are not for Indigenous people to read or to write. And the reason why is because we have never done any land acknowledgements and Canadian settlers who have benefited directly from being here on this land. And it is your first step towards reconciliation where you are on that journey. And so a personalized land acknowledgement or making a personal statement is really important and valuable because it tells us of where you are and what you need to do and how you're going to move forward in your own journey. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you both. Yeah, about 1 million. Any questions? Commissioner Hunt.
Thanks for this, always learning something. In my other life, there's a land and water acknowledgement which includes the Shoal Lake. And my question is, that seems to me to be a fairly important piece, and I'm wondering why it's in some acknowledgements that I hear and not in others.
I think it has a lot to do with people are, and as we move forward and kids start to learn about why are Indigenous people protesting. We have in over 150 years not ever protested, we're protectors. And we've always moved forward to protect our land and our waters. And as kids are learning more about that, they're starting to take the steps of understanding where they get their water from here in Winnipeg. And understanding that the nation Shoal Lake 40 suffered because so that we could have clean drinking water, and how when they were when they created the aqueduct from Shoal Lake to Winnipeg, they actually created an island around the river, and for over 100 years the people there were dying because they couldn't cross the lake during the spring, the fall, the frost and the defrost, right? Because it was too the ice wasn't hard enough. So kids are starting to learn, and as teachers move forward, we're starting to see great change in land acknowledgements. And it's a lot of it is the kids bringing those things forward based on their understandings and what they're learning in their class.
Concretely, when people acknowledge the water from Shoal Lake, a lot of teachers in division are looking critically at their curriculums and looking at the science. For instance, in 7 and 8, they talk about ecosystems and water. So by knowing about Shoal Lake, they actually change the way they teach about water. Because in that curriculum, they teach about water as an inanimate object, but really it's a living, breathing being, if you look at through an Indigenous lens. So those are the type of things, when you know about those things, then you can do better and affect change in your own way.
And it's important to understand that land acknowledgement are meant to change. So the more you learn, you should reflect every year on your land acknowledgement and create changes based on your own learning. Thank you.
All right, that was a lot of learning and a lot you've left us to think about in in a short space of time, but thank you very much.
Sorry, we're always available on
Yeah.
Teams if you
I'm-
wanna.
Well, that's where those
Questions?
really questions are sitting.
For sure, yes.
They're stuck here. I do have some, but not for this evening. I'm processing a little bit, but when we talked about this 2 weeks ago, and suggested that it would be worth doing for each of us to have a role in this, right away Darcy said, well, maybe what we could do is do a little bit of learning first, and what a great suggestion. And thank you very much. Thank you seems inadequate, but thanks for taking time out of your evenings. I know it's super busy at any time, but especially the last week. So we appreciate that, and just may have some of us knocking on your door, you never know. Thanks.
Wonderful, Igasani.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll see Bob.
All right, white item under finance and audit this evening, which is the spotlight story that we have to encourage our community to weigh in as we prepare budget for 24-25. I'll turn this one to our secretary.
Thank you very much. As part of our process for starting the conversation on our budget for 24-25, the division has put up a spotlight story on our website. And this was posted on December 8th, and this is inviting the public to share their thoughts on what's important when it comes to developing the budget for the next year. So on the page, you'll see a click here link that'll take you to Thought Exchange. And from there, it's basically entering your responses. So I just wanted to bring that to your the public's attention, and that will be open until February.
Any questions on the thought exchange at all? Trustees, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at what some of the comments are that are being shared and how they're being supported or rejected by other people who are engaging, I would encourage you to take a look. There's a definite pattern emerging to what is on our community mind. And this has to inform the conversations that we have as we prepare for budget for the next year. So if you find yourself, I'm not going to say if you find yourself without something to do, please carve out 15 or 20 minutes and take a look at some of those comments. You'll find them very awesome. Item 7 is information to the board from the senior leadership team. We begin with the international student program, and again to Assistant Superintendent Cormack to set this one up for us.
It's my pleasure to welcome our director of the student program, Deborah Parker.
Deborah, welcome.
Thank you. So I was told this wasn't going to be a presentation, so don't prepare a lot. An intro, and the intro was really important. Update, to find out who is this Deborah Parker joining Louis-Riel School Division at this point. So I'd like to thank Assistant Superintendent Cormack for the invitation and the board as well. Many of you don't know me, but let me tell you that I have been a lifelong educator. I've taught high school, middle school, I've taught university, I've taught in person, online, I've taught in rural divisions, urban divisions. I even taught for a very short time at Victor Meeker School back in the 90s. Yes, I had a term. I spent much of my career at the Department of Education. I was originally hired to support ICT integration, and I moved from there to web-based learning online. And I spent some time with the multi-age piece and multi-level learners, and eventually homeschooling and homeschooling compliance, and found myself as a school inspector, an international school inspector. So I've been working in international education now for 13 years. Most recently as the program director at Winnipeg School Division before I arrived here in August. So I'm here in Monterey. My office is the nice one in the corner. And I lead a team of 6, so there's 7 with me. And since August, I have been spending time on the routines of orientation for students, supporting schools to understand the international student needs and with their programming. And recruitment, of course, that's a really important part. But I've also been spending time, especially lately, talking to school administrators and collecting feedback from them. And also setting some goals with them. So learning about, what's working really well and what have been the challenges and maybe now that I'm new, some fresh ideas to support them and set some goals together. So of course, a goal that I have is to grow the program. Of course, I'd love to grow the program, but an equally important goal is to diversify the enrollment. And so I've been working very strategically with Darcy, looking at some markets that are underrepresented and thinking about how to spend time there to recruit students to join us. In particular, I'm looking at the French-focused international students, the French-interested international students. And I've got 3 ideas for how we can engage more French students. And I don't necessarily mean students from France, excuse me, or North Africa who already are fluent, but those students from Italy and Germany and even Switzerland, where that is one of their 4 national languages, and encouraging those students to join us. Many of those students would be interested in studying at a French immersion school, but what I'm selling is a 2-for-1 program where students who are interested in attending our French immersion schools can study in French during the day and spend time in the evening with English-speaking state parents. So I've been selling that. I think it's going well. We'll see next year. Also trying to target, and we'll be targeting in January, French immersion attending families and those families that really value bilingualism and multilingualism, to engage them to consider becoming a homestay for Louis Riel School Division. Because even if they don't speak French, and I hope that maybe one parent might or both would be great, but at least they value, and by sending their own children to one of our French immersion schools, that they'll value that multilingual piece. And then, related to our cultural enrichment, I have some ideas around trying to engage the parents of those students who are traveling to France, or who traveled to France last year, and have invited some of those French students into their homes for a short time to think about extending that time and considering a semester or a year with another international student in the future. So that's my intro and update. Now I've got some stats for you, some numbers. So in high school right now, in this moment, we have 24 students in all of our high schools. And next semester, we'll invite 65 more for a total of 189 students over the year in high school alone, which is really fantastic. In elementary schools, we'll have, after the January and February intake, January for most elementary school students, but those who have siblings who are attending one of our high schools, they'll start with us in February. 96 students, really fantastic. The total post-secondary and adult enrollment is as high as 266 for a total of 551 international student program students studying at Louis Riel School Division this year. That's just inbound. In addition, we have 70 students, or we're marking 70 students to participate in the cultural exchange program who will travel abroad under supervision to have their own study abroad experience. And so, whereas last year, 68 students participated, this year we're already 70. And in addition to the big band trip that's happening shortly, we'll have 2 other cohorts to Japan, which is the most popular exchange, as well as an exchange to our sister school in Italy, Chile, Germany, Spain, and also France, as I mentioned. So it's pretty spectacular. I could go on, I could create a presentation, but I'm really happy to finally be here. I tried to be here earlier. Happy to finally be here and to answer any questions that you may have about the program or some of my goals or thoughts about its direction and where to take it. More numbers. You have any questions? Happy.
Thank you, Deborah. Questions, anyone?
homestays. How is that going?
It's going well. We're not at capacity. We have some wiggle. Starting January, we're going to campaign being very strategic about the neighborhoods we target for the homestay campaign, in particular, those homes around Windsor Park and Nelson Mack High Schools, to try to encourage more families in those areas to consider hosting for us. So that's exciting. I can give you some numbers. We have 74 homes that are active in our database, and what this means is they're either hosting for us now or interested, but some of them have preferences because of their own family dynamic, and they may have young girls, for example, so they would only accept a girl into their home and not a young boy, or something like that. So, you know, it's not always easy to place students. We have to respect the preferences of homestay families. And of those 74 homes, many have two rooms available for international students. Some have as many as 3. It's rare, but some hosts will accept as many as 3 international students in a semester or a year. So yes, but we can always use more. So we'll prepare to campaign in January and see where that goes. Our next intake after February for high school will be April. We're actually expecting a handful of students from France to study for 3 months until June. So we'll be looking for new homestay families to give them a little taste of what it means to host a student for 3 months. It's very kind of low risk. And if they like it, we're hoping they'll consider a semester or maybe next year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Right, thank you, Deborah. It was nice to finally put a face to a name.
Welcome.
And be able to say welcome to Louis Riel, and her enthusiasm is contagious, and
Thank you. And if I might say one more thing,
Sure.
I get a lot of questions, why? You know, why now? Why would you leave Winnipeg School Division to join Louis Riel School Division? And I just like to say, it's really easy to sit back and year after year think that you've got a great program, and you do, right? You have an amazing program. But you should also know it's famous and it's really unique. I mean, all of the others, and there are 5 programs, 5 international student programs in the city of Winnipeg, and the others all have K to 12. But you have post-secondary, you have an amazing summer enrichment program, and you have an organized inbound cultural enrichment program, and the others simply don't. So what you have is very special. And if you don't know that, you should, because I certainly did. And that's why I joined Louis Riel School Division when I did. So thank you for the introductions and the opportunity. And if you have any questions, you know, please anytime, it doesn't have to be now.
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding us what a magnificent place this is in so many ways, so we appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good night.
Thank you. All right, item 7.2 is Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA. I'm watching the time, and we're just gonna take a quick look at this. Could certainly come back for more conversation. There's lots of information captured in here. But let's start a conversation about what the PISA results from Manitoba are telling.
Well, mindful of time and having provided trustees with lots of materials to consider. You know, why don't we just start it off, like you said, a quick conversation, any burning question a trustee may have for the senior leadership.
That's a good idea.
And we'll come back to it.
Any burning questions anybody has? Or observations? It's good news for the most part, for seeing some numbers starting to trend upwards. Slowly but surely, still some work to do. Good to see a focus on acknowledgement by some in the media on the impact that poverty is playing in students. So, my observation. Anybody else want to dive in at this point, or?
I would love to hear anybody else speak on math other than the UW person. We could put somebody, we have so many great math people, Dean Pavoni could get an opportunity to speak to what he's doing in his math program. And drown her out on occasion, that would be very much appreciated.
Any other
I
observations?
have one final observation.
Yeah,
To move it along and to add to what you've said. I think not only, so some of the materials we provided offered you perspective on the PISA results. And like you said, Sandy, Chair. Trustee Nemeth, we can't think of PISA in isolation from many other dynamics. And one of those being socioeconomic reality of the lived experience for students. That said, the takeaways that the results in Manitoba and other provinces are problematic really suggests that that person that holds that opinion hasn't done their homework, haven't carefully studied what the PISA results are saying internationally. And so we can talk more about that just what the PISA results are saying about Manitoba in relationship to other provinces and countries.
okay, so we'll diarize further conversation down the road. In the interim, folks, if you haven't had a chance to dive into some of this information that was provided to any great degree, I would encourage you again to do so. That takes us to 7.3, just an update on school of choice requests.
Well, this is just an update to highlight how we keep bringing some technology to help us understand the different aspects of our again, reality, lived experience. So Clark sitting along need to help support Jamie. So quickly, here's a new page on our one of many new pages in our student enrollment report that we've built. And I want to acknowledge Clark and Marnie and several people on the data literacy team that build our capacities in LRSD in amazing ways. So here, Deborah just shared that there were so many, she gave us a number. I've already forgotten on the number of international students in our high school. Now I can remember it quickly because I can just go to the report and choose E390 international student non-supportable temporary resident. I believe these are the international students we're talking about. And choose click. And I can see right off the hop, I can see there are 264 of them. They represent 1.5% of enrollment. And here we can see them across the schools, across the grades. And we can see the relationship of that student population to the rest of the students. And because this was also about schools of choice, let's get to that. Schools of choice, E101. So we have 1,074 students in our schools, 6.2% of the population that have made a schools of choice at some point. This isn't just this year. This is the total population of students in our schools, 1,074, that at some point, maybe this year, maybe in a previous year, made a schools of choice, aren't in the school where they reside. They're not in this catchment school of where they reside. And again, we can see how it plays out by grade and across the schools. And it's just a click away. It's super speedy. And so this is just an example of the technology we continue to expand on in the support of better understanding what's going on and responding to what's going on. And so one final page that was created, this was an exciting one, a map. And because I don't want to show postal codes, I want to be mindful of privacy, I'm showing a map where I can see dots And all these dots represent where kids live that are going to school in LRSD. And we can see again, that we have schools that, live many different parts of the city and province, going to school in LRSD. And so, just another example of how we're leveraging technology to support our understanding. And you've seen me show maps and dots in the past. I did a lot of that in 2013, gymnasium across the school division. And I became known to some city councilors as the guy who showed maps and dots. And but the cool thing about these dots is they're in real time. The dots I was showing in 2013 were a moment in time. They were the dots in September of a given year. These dots are updating every day. Cool, that's fun. That's it. That's my quick little report.
Any questions on this? Again, carve out some time, folks, and take a look at this. It's actually very interesting. 7.5, good news from the United Way Re-Elevate campaign this year. I will, Secretary Treasurer, share the numbers.
Yeah, so some exciting news for the 2023 United Way Re-Elevate campaign. We had total donations from staff of $80,706.44. So it's another amazing amount of money and generosity that our staff and students have raised. And so I just wanted to publicly thank everyone who's contributed. As part of this campaign, you have an option of directing some of those funds towards our Re-Elevate fund. And this is to help support programming in LRSD. Right now, programming revolves around helping support in the way of scholarships. And so this year, we raised out of that 80,000, 20,779 was directed towards the Re-Elevate. And so those funds will be sent to the Winnipeg Foundation, help grow the fund.
Any questions on this? This continues to be a remarkable achievement on the part of Louis Riel staff. It is, it's very heartwarming, and the fact that it continues to support the endowment fund the way it does is also something to be very grateful for. So thank you for bringing those numbers to us. I appreciate it. 7.6 accessibility plan updates to, sorry. I missed 7.4, sorry. Going back to 7.4, team meeting was held last week, and we have a slide deck just to show.
Yeah, no need. Quickly, the only thing I want to highlight from the leadership week is that we're going to start a new way of being together come January and for the next monthly meetings, and that is an innovation to the way we learn as a leadership team. And it's the innovation is a project-based leadership learning focus. And so starting in January, principals and vice principals, these teams or a principal, we have a few principals that don't have a vice principal to work with, are going to spend a good portion of the time together monthly on a project, their project of learning. That results in a product that is going to express itself in schools, whether it's designing a professional learning day, designing a learning opportunity for a staff meeting, designing a collaborative learning cycle with several teachers, or refining an aspect of their school plan. They're going to spend a good portion of the day working on that project, learning as they work on that project, supported by the senior leadership team, the school and classroom support team. So folks are really, I've sold them on the idea. They're really excited about it. And I look forward to sharing about that innovation, leadership learning that we're going to start in LRSD in the.
Trustees, any questions on this new format? All right, now we'll go to accessibility plan updates. Assistant Superintendent.
So as I reported at the last board meeting, we're working towards the standard for communication, information and communication. And so we have to be in compliance with this standard as of May 2024. There is a lot of work to do and we're slowly chipping away at it. The Accessibility Committee met today. It has representation from all employee groups. And I think we've made some good steps forward. Right now, we have reviewed the Act in relationship to this latest standard. And a key piece of it is the training of all staff around it and the tracking of the training of staff. And so we're lucky that we have our own LMS, learning management system, where we can ensure that all staff have the access to the training module and have completed it. And so we're currently looking at whether or not it's cost effective to purchase that module that provides the training around the standard, or if it's something we want to do in-house. One of the challenges that I would suggest that most organizations are facing when it comes to the expectations of the Accessibility Act is the cost associated with meeting the expectations. And so just for us to update our website to ensure that all of our documents, the thousands and thousands of documents that we have, are accessible and compliant. That's heavy work and heavy lifting to do. And so thinking about ways that we can work away at ensuring our most used documents across the portal to the public are accessible is the place that we've started. We also are have prioritized new signage and standardized signage across universal accessible washrooms. But all of these things have costs. And so we spent a little bit of time today just thinking about, as we enter a new budget season, where in our budgets are the accessibility costs coming from? Where are we seeing those pressures? And how can we have conversations and where can we look for additional funding around some of those things? You might recall that last year, Clark and I applied for a Manitoba Accessibility Grant to help with some of the work. We were not successful. There were many organizations that were trying to take advantage of that pot of money. There's another opportunity to apply this year, so we'll do that again. But I do think that as the expectations are there for organizations to be in compliance, I don't disagree that we need to be. The work is very important and needed. There needs to be consideration for how do we do this as an organization. So some really good conversation and a group of people that are very committed to.
Questions on this one? Thank you very much for that. Monthly updates regarding our community metrics, I guess is the word. We want to show that all the arrows are pointing up. Third sign.
Ron Cadez was the ex-post of not a tweet anymore. We have to change the ex-post.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there is.
And then
Oh, he hit it twice because on LinkedIn, look at that.
oh, look at that, LinkedIn as well.
And Instagram.
And it's.
Instagram, oh my
My
word.
God.
It's an influencer.
Oh,
Stars shining after.
yeah, so you're gonna need your own platform soon.
It'll be on YouTube as well. Yeah.
Live stream is the board meeting.
Oh. Well, maybe it was a board meeting where we
Appointed Ron.
appointed.
Oh, that's great. All right. No, these are good numbers to see, and just that engagement that we interact is growing, and thanks to our communications department for this. There's a lot of work behind this. So policy. We
Sorry if
have,
I could,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just looking at the YouTube because it was brought up. There was live streams. It's got 2,388 impressions. On the top Oh, I'm seeing it there. I'm answering my own question by looking at the fine print. I need my glasses. I was wondering how many people sign in to our board meetings on the YouTube. So I know we used to be able to know through the other way, but so it looks like it's over 1,000. So that's pretty good. Quite impressive.
Oh, maybe.
There you go.
Okay, policy review committee update, Assistant Superintendent Anderson for policy G.
Very good, thank you. Before you this evening is policy GCCAB/GDCG, teaching and non-teaching leaves and absences, citizenship ceremonies. This new policy seeks to support the division's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. During the policy review process last year, it was recommended that the board consider granting a half-day's leave of absence to staff members attending their Canadian citizenship ceremony. Trustees gave first reading to this policy on November 21st, following which an invitation was sent via the Learning Circle to provide feedback. The feedback has been incorporated into the version presented for your consideration this evening for second and third reading.
So the recommendation then is that in accordance with policy BG, school board policy process, and with the unanimous consent of the trustees in attendance, all three readings may occur at one meeting. And that policy GCCAG/GDCG, leave for citizenship ceremony, reviewed by the policy review committee, receive second and third reading, and finally be adopted. I need a mover and seconder, please. Trustee Kovalchuk, second. Trustee Sigurdsson. Any questions on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Keep voting, but I don't have a thing.
Okay, and the motion is carried. Thank you. Next item is edits to the policy template, some information.
Very good, thank you. I wanted to share with trustees as part of the accessibility work that my colleague Darcy Cormack was speaking about, the information and communication requirements for accessibility are coming into effect in May 2024. The way that our policies are presently posted online is not compatible with a number of accessibility tools. So we are working to design a new template that will make the policies more easily readable for individuals who use assistive technology. So we are currently developing a template, and we hope to begin transitioning to the new format as early as January, because there's quite a substantial amount of work to do. And just in case you are clicking through the policy manual and notice that something looks a little different, that will be the why behind it.
Thank you very much for that. I'm assuming no questions, but that's not fair to, so let's do a scan. That takes us to correspondence. There has been correspondence received by the board. Also correspondence that we have sent out, and then correspondence from the Manitoba School Boards Association. Would encourage you to read e-bulletins there and the information regarding upcoming convention at the end of March. Is there anybody that wanted to ask a question about anything else? Great, then we will receive and archive those accordingly. And item 10 is update to the planned by-election.
The next step of the process is the of a senior election official. And so I am bringing a recommendation to the board that we appoint Sherwood Armbruster. It's a City of Winnipeg city clerk, and he was the one responsible for performing our election back in 2022.
So the recommendation is that Sherwood Armbruster, City of Winnipeg election official, be appointed as the senior election official for the 2024 school board by-election for the Louis Riel School Division. I need a second, please. Moved by Trustee Garrier, second by Trustee Kovalchuk. Any questions on this? This is just following process, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, and the motion is carried. Thank you. That takes us to public question period. Look first to public that is in attendance this evening. Any questions for us or comments?
No questions, just a happy holidays.
Thank you very much, Jay, to you as well, and the rest of your executive. And just looking to see if anybody online has. Announce. So that brings us to the end of the agenda. We do have to go back to camera. But I believe, yeah, we won't be coming back out of in camera for anything, so this meeting is adjourned. This opportunity to wish everybody that's here a very happy holiday, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we will see you in 2024, and some we will see you in who knows what, 2024, good luck, right? All right. Let's just take a short break while we switch over, and then